Hey guys, we're here discussing the 5 tips to being a successful entrepreneur. I've been running my consulting business for 6 years now, and there were times in my life where I felt so stressed, working so hard, making not that much money because I wasn't taking home the profit, because I wasn't realizing the systems in place. I didn't have a great client acquisition model, and my delivery and strategic relationships weren't there. And I wasn't really focusing on personal growth. So in this episode, we're going to discuss 5 tips to get us to the next level. And I'm going to share a couple stories, a couple anecdotes to get us there. So the 5 tips are going to be around mindset, systems, client acquisition, delivery, and personal growth. So let's start off with mindset. So the biggest mindset breakthrough for me was realizing when I put myself in constraints. So what I mean by that was like last year, I was running my business remotely, and to build clients, I would always build them I would do all the work myself. Like I would log into the app, I know the day to build them, and I would build them. However, this month we were in a different country and it wouldn't allow me to charge the clients. So what I had to do was I actually called up my brother and I asked him to help me. And so he was able to do it a little bit. But then what I realized was the real way to do this is to just set up auto pay. So I had such a constraint in my life because I was traveling, but I still wanted to get paid, that I set up auto pay for all the clients. And now every client I have is on an auto pay system. Why? Because it helps give me clarity. It's something that I don't have to manage consistently, and it gives me wins. You know what I mean? So when you start having these different mindset ideas, you start realizing what's possible. The other thing that big that helped me with mindset is having different areas of winning. So what I mean by that is you start to realize that the world is very abundant. There's a ton of options, there's a ton of people, there's a ton of clients. So that scarcity to abundant idea has helped me a lot because it always allowed me to realize that I'm running to the own beat of my own drum. So there's always opportunity available, which really opened my eyes. The second thing I set up was systems. Systems have been huge for me. So while I've been running the consulting business, I've also been running my podcast for the past 5 years. And recently in the past, I've hired different people to clip up the videos. I've hired people to do different things. But this year I sat down and said, I am going to eliminate the podcast from my plate. I just want to do the intro call. I just want to do the podcast, and I want to pass it all off. And in my head, previous to that, I thought, what if the clipper messes up an email? What if they forget to post? What if they judge some of the numbers? What if they forget to do something? So we put up systems in place to make it so easy for my team. Shout out Rob. To make it so easy for them to do all the areas. And the cool thing is that once you set up the systems in place, they just get better and better. So now, as soon as I finish the podcast, I send it to the team. Team gets to work. We have a checklist on the back end that we go through to make sure that we're completing all of the tasks in hand. And then we pay afterwards. But it's a way to get a win-win for both sides of us. Another thing that I've recently been doing is giving more presentations. To enhance that experience in the presentation, I thought, what if I created some visuals? And what I did the first time was I used AI to create visuals with ChatGPT, and it ended up being like basically a white sheet, like a white PowerPoint slide with some words on it. It wasn't cool. It wasn't nice. It didn't look professional. So recently I found out this app Gamma, which is a system now I have in place for that presentation, because anything repeatable, we should start developing systems for them. That I use the Gamma slides, I create them in ChatGPT, drop them into Gamma, have a very professional thing, look through it again, and adjust where I need to adjust, but it helps me get to that level that I want to be at. It shows up better. It lets you know that the person's a real deal. But sometimes there's apps or AIs that can help you with this drastically, or an employee for that matter. And even this system that I'm starting to set up, where I do the studio once a week for an hour. Why? Because it allows me to batch the content for this YouTube channel. These are all systems that we're creating. Previous to this, I have a system where I start to build out the YouTube videos to see what those videos are. The third thing that you want to work on, and the real opportunity that helped me have success in business, was client acquisition. So, what does that mean? It means, how are you getting clients? What is the way you're doing this? And you might be asking yourself, I don't know. I just got clients. Well, there's usually a system. So, some of the systems in place are, you have to talk to new people, you have to talk to people you know, you have to let everybody know what you're doing so that more people can have that. And for a while, the client acquisition machine I struggled with, because we all struggle with it. What do you mean? It's a very challenging thing. There's a lot of greatly skilled people who don't get clients that they need. So if you need help getting clients, you have to look into better systems. You have to look into different strategic relationships. So a couple different strategic relationships that can occur are, for example, if you're at a gym and you're owning the gym and you want to get more clients, maybe what you could do is you could partner up with a sauna cold plunge studio. Why? Because the sauna cold plunge people and the gym people, both, you need both of them. They're two pieces that kind of go together. So it allows people, you're targeting the same clientele. So what I mean by that is, you need to strategically align yourself with specific individuals where it becomes a win-win for both sides. Now, nowadays, the cool thing is that that's becoming even more wide ranging. So what that means is that you can run an auto body shop and start working with the Chinese food delivery place. Why? Because you don't always need alignment. You need just community alignment. You need some underlying thing where both people are like, I really like that Chinese food place, and I really like that auto body shop. So maybe for a night, the auto body shop might go, hey, we're gonna pay $10 on everybody's meals. Fantastic. And then they have a goodwill. And then if they go to the auto body shop, now they get $10 off as well. So now they've saved $20. That might be a good client acquisition model. It also might look like you speaking to different people and providing a value of sort. So what that might look like is, maybe you're a coach, maybe you're a consultant, and you want to be coaching people. So maybe, just maybe, you coach them by giving a presentation, by providing a lot of value, and then at the end, you ask them if they'd like to do a complimentary coaching call, if they want to do a breakthrough session, if they want to dive deeper with you, if they want to experience more of the stuff you do. Why do that? Because it's a win-win for both parties. They're learning about who you are. You're getting another rep to do what you do best. So it's a constant learning thing. And then the fourth thing is delivery. So how do you deliver the content? Originally, when I started with coaching, it was only on one-on-one, and that became really stressful, because if you don't charge enough for your sessions, then you feel like you're constantly chasing clients. Also, you need to realize that you're the one in charge in your business, meaning you create the rules. So like a rule that I've had for quite some time is that if you change the meeting time less than 24 hours, that's going to be a charge. Why? Because it hurts me by constantly changing up my schedule, and it makes it really challenging on me to accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish and try to stay focused as long as I can. That becomes not ideal situation. So you can charge for that. You can have different fees for different things. But the main thing is to recognize what delivery vehicle is going to be best for you. So I was doing a lot of one-on-one coaching. And then what I started to realize was the power of group coaching. You get different perspectives, different opinions. And then even another leverage part is that I started bringing in guest speakers. So I started bringing in these guest speakers to speak to the group from the podcast, so it all connects. Why? It's so that the group can get different perspectives. But in the beginning, you know what I thought about the delivery vehicle? I'm the only one that can speak to the group. I'm the only one that can provide value. How silly was that of me? You start to realize that you're not the most impressive person Sometimes the value you bring is the facilitation of other people. And that's where the real value add starts to begin. And even before we shot this video, like I had a guest speaker on last night. It's a serial entrepreneur, 77 years old, and most of the audience was 20s and 30s. And they were blown away by the knowledge they received from him because he's compounded so much experience and he was grateful to share it because it keeps him wise and it keeps him young and inquisitive, which is very, very important for us. So it's great to identify strategic relationships. You guys might not be paying each other, but you might get clients for each other, which is really the main goal because you're both targeting the same people. So you want to start thinking and asking these questions of like, where am I missing out on a strategic relationship? Where can I dive deeper with some of these people? Where can I learn more and where can I get to that next level? So I think that's really important. And the fifth and final point is something that I've worked on really, really hard, which is personal growth and kind of habits. So it's how do you create these wins in your life? How do you create these different things that allow you to feel energized? For me, a habit that I've always wanted to take on is waking up early. So what does that look like? That looks like going to the gym by 6 a.m. Why? How did I do that? I signed up for 2 classes of Muay Thai on Tuesday and Thursday at 6 a.m. every single week. And I'm there every week. Why? Because then on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to end up going to the gym early as well because I've already started to build that habit. So the point is that with personal growth, you want to be investing in getting around the right people, learning these systems, learning from people, investing in yourself, or you want to go out and hire people. You want to be able to constantly grow your skills. Maybe you need to hire an accountant. Maybe you need to hire a bookkeeper. Maybe you need to hire an assistant. Whatever it is that's going to allow you to grow and focus on the activities that you need to be focusing on. There's only so many people that can do certain activities. It's very hard to replace the content. With AI, that might be happening sooner than later. We never know. It's hard to replace sales calls. Not always, but it's a very high value activity. And then you might want to get different salespeople to come in. The point is here is that we're talking about the 5 tips to be a successful entrepreneur. And in this, we've discussed about mindset, systems, client acquisition, delivery, how you deliver the product so that it's a good product for them. And then what does personal growth look like? So I hope these tips gave you some perspective on what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Because it's not always, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. How does this work? But it starts to get a little bit deeper than that. You have to have that mental fortitude to keep on going, that mental resilience. And that's what we talk about with mindset. Because there's many days where you face many, many more negatives than you do positives. And that can be very challenging for us. Because you start to realize that life isn't always going to be positive, but you have to find that light and you have to bring that optimism when everything against you feels that you shouldn't. So it's how do you keep that optimism? And some people, what they do is they create a win journal. I actually have one of these. Whenever I get a text that's empowering, I take a screenshot of it and I put it into my mindset folder and I just call it wins. And essentially what it is it's something to reference whenever you have a low point. And David Goggins talked about this in his book, Can't Hurt Me, with the cookie jar method, where you start writing down all your accomplishments. And then when you feel less than, you know that you've accomplished these certain things. So it's super important for us to have a resilient mindset. The systems, these are the things that are going to help you organize yourself, get back your time, hire the people, set up the way you do things, develop the habits. That's what's that. Client acquisition is how are you going to get the clients? Delivery is who are you going to work with and how are you going to follow through on your delivery? And the last one's personal growth. And the funny thing is that when you're starting this journey, and as I'm looking at this list, you start to realize that you're like, I do all of this. Eventually you won't. Eventually it's going to be passed on. Eventually there will be other people to assist you. But at this point, yes, you do all of it. Why? Because that's what entrepreneurship looks like. It's building a business and you have to wear many different hats. And that's what brings the fun of it. That's what makes it exciting. And that's what makes it engaging and awesome. So I wish you guys all the best. I appreciate you clocking in. And I can't wait for the next episode.